This is CC from Death Dealer Union.
It's Kay, and we're on Talking About Rock and Death Dealer Union.
This is Brice, and yeah, you're watching Talking About Rock.
All right, today we have for you a Los Angeles-based metal band, Death Dealer Union, formed in late 2019 by drummer CC McKenna and guitarist Doug Weiand. Death Dealer Union quickly forged an identity defined by vision and precision. Their cinematic music videos fuse theatrical intensity with emotional depth, immersing audiences in an experience that feels both ritualistic and revolutionary. Here to chat with us about the latest track, Square Hammer, let's welcome Kay, Brice, and CC from Death Dealer Union. Folks, so glad to have you here.
So glad to be here.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, guys. This is great. We got a full house this time, pretty much, so we're definitely digging that. So, CC, I guess I want to start with you here because I want to hear about how this project kind of got put together. You know, in the beginning, you know, getting these folks together. Can you tell us a little bit about how this started out?
Yeah. So you know, gosh, it was 2018, 2019. I was kind of looking for something to do in the music space again. I'd kind of been out of it for a few years. I was just basically a drummer in several different bands, if you will. And so that was my background. So this was kind of my effort to put together an original act of something I had a vision for a long time. So Doug and I kind of started, and it just kind of started. I mean, we were just starting with a single. We didn't really know what was going to happen, and it just kind of snowballed, kind of took on a life of its own. And now here we are a few years later, and we're doing interviews on podcasts.
Yeah, that's the way of things nowadays, right? This is the new, like they say, this is the new TV interview as a podcast. You know?
Yeah.
And it's growing everywhere. Now Netflix is doing podcasts too as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we went through kind of a different iteration of the band early on. I think now you're going to see, like, this is the real Death Dealer Union now. Like our band now really feels like a family, and we really are a tight unit, and we're all kind of on the same page, and it's just a much different feeling. And I think it's going to be reflected in the music and what you see moving forward from us. So I would just say that I personally think that it's just a really a great lineup now, and really the perfect lineup. And so we're going to embark now on this, and this is really the sound and everything that I had really hoped for this band from the beginning. And I think we've now capitalized on it with now having Brice and Kay in the band. And so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the new track sounds great. You know, Kay, can you give us some background on this? I love the videos, what you guys got going on here. It's very, very cool. When I saw that video, I'm like, I need to speak to this band because they're understanding kind of what it's about. I love the theatrics about it, you know, putting it out there, making an experience of the music, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, so the video was Square Hammer. We kind of steered away from the more I can't find the word I'm looking for.
Traditional,
niche, normal.
Yeah, just like the more like the very obvious way to interpret the song.
Right.
And we took it and kind of put it like a little bit more of like a spin on it, kind of making it more about someone who's refusing to give in to the powers of the world and is choosing to make the rules for themselves, and no matter what is coming at them or what's trying to, like, they ultimately end up victorious in that situation because they're staying true to them and not giving to the outside.
Yeah, is that something you guys think about, CC, when you're writing this music? Do you think about the visualization? Do you have any of that in mind when it's going? I mean, I know personally, when you hear tracks from certain bands, you're like, oh, that's an opening song, or that's a headlining song, or that's, you know what I mean? Are you guys thinking about that at all, CC, when you're putting this together, the theatrical vision, or what you're seeing at all?
Well, yeah, certainly. And that's a great explanation what Kay just said. That was like perfect. Like I couldn't have said that better anymore about Square Hammer and how we kind of interpret it. And yeah, when we're writing the songs, I think with this last album, I think we kind of took an overall theme and made 10 songs out of it. Basically, I think we wanted to capture a much more raw, intense, darker sound. I think we wanted to focus on sort of abstract ideas, if you will, and like in, for instance, Black House. Black House was kind of based on. It's one of the songs on the record, but when I was growing up as a kid, I was raised on a ranch early on, and I always knew that in this ulterior sort of dimension or whatever, there was this black house that was on the hill next to our house.
Okay, so that was something growing up that you saw.
Yeah, but it was what was funny. What was funny is that since the producer had a lot to do with putting some of the phrasing together and on the words, he too had a Black House experience. And so it was like really kind of weird how that came together and stuff, how we, so just for instance, that is, and I think we were just kind of naturally trusting the process of what was, inspirations were just flowing instead of trying to reach out and grab or force something.
Yeah. And you mentioned, different things growing up, different influences, Brice. So maybe you could talk to some of that, Brice, about some of the influences maybe you had early on, some of the musicians or things that you draw upon, for the sound for this band. Do you have any of those thoughts?
Yeah, so when it comes to I guess the writing process, so I joined a band like after the whole album was written. Like I would say as far as that, I feel like if Doug was here, he would be able to better answer that question per se about.
Right. But for
Yeah,
yourself, maybe you could just speak to
you're
your own
asking-
influences and stuff of just yourself.
as a bass player?
Yes. Yeah.
I'd say I take a lot of inspiration from like guys like David Ellefson from Megadeth, Cliff Burton from Metallica, Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, and Geddy Lee from Rush. And
Yeah. Some of the huge heavy hitters definitely that made their mark and on music definitely for sure. Yeah, definitely very cool.
Yeah. No, especially like as a metal bassist, I took a lot of inspiration from those four that I mentioned.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so Kay, back to you. So we've seen a lot of female fronted metal bands nowadays, which I think is great, which I think is amazing.
I love it.
That we're seeing that more and more. One thing that always comes to mind for me is obviously when Lizzie Hale was fronting Skid Row for a little while. I don't think anybody was prepared for that. I thought it was great. I know it still seems to be a challenge sometimes for women in this space. Have you gotten any of that type of feedback over the years? I'm not sure how long you've been doing this. You know what I mean? Has it turned more into a positive thing? I think it has, but I always like to ask.
Well, for me personally, this is my first band that I've been in actually. I'm just from a small town in Illinois. My background is more of like community theater and like things of that nature. But I've always loved heavy music and I've always been influenced by heavy music. I just didn't think that was like a path for me until I joined this band. And then I was like, oh, this is wonderful and perfect. And I am right where I need to be. And I'm so happy.
So was singing still one of your passions, growing up? You just never thought you would go into the metal space? You're like, oh, now what am I doing now? Right.
No, it's like it all kind of like it was interesting when I joined the band. It was all the different like little puzzle pieces of my life kind of were like click, 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 click. Oh, all of this stuff just like makes sense and it all works now and it all just is organic and just is beautiful and I love it. But no, I've been singing ever since I can remember. I was in my first musical at like 11 years old. I've done a ridiculous amount of musicals in my life. Performing, singing, all of that has always been my like top passion for myself in life.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just love it. It's very cool what you guys got going on for sure. So CC, when you found Kay, I don't know how you went through the process, auditioning or what have you, when you found the other band members, and to find the voice for the band, I think is a huge important thing, right? That's going to be your forward facing face of that band. That's who people are going to relate to, right? Can you speak to that a little bit about going through that process?
Yeah, it was really, I think Kay and I still kind of chuckle about it. I think it's will go on for a while. To be honest with you, it's just kind of a miracle. I don't know. Kay was came out of the ethers.
Right. Well, she was saying all the pieces were fitting into place for her finally. She, kind of like that. But how did you guys connect? Was it YouTube or something? Or
Lauren Hart had. So Lauren Hart, who's now singing with Arch Enemy, she and I are friends, and we were down at her boyfriend's house in Orange County. This is before she joined Arch Enemy, and we were chatting it up, and of course I was talking to her about possibly lead vocalist. She decided not to, but we were, we still stay in contact, and so does Max Morton and myself, her boyfriend. But at the time, she says, just out of the blue, she says, yeah, I should just run an ad on Backstage, CC. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, and I'm like, well, that's for actors. She goes, yeah, just do it. So I did it. And I didn't get, for 2-3 months, I didn't hear anything. And then I get this obscure email one day from Kay. And the rest is history. So
awesome.
So Lauren was right.
Yeah, I always like to hear those stories, kind of how pieces fell together or who found who or what have you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Very, very cool. So also coming up, you got the album set for release summer 2026. What can you tell us about that? Can you give us a little bit of insight of what's going on with that?
Sure, yeah. So tomorrow we'll drop, the video will drop for our first single off the record, Call to the Moonlight. And then and the pre-sale starts exclusively for viewers of the video. And then the pre-sale hits the stores next Friday with the album, and Call to the Moonlight will be on sale in iTunes. You can get it this first week exclusively through our website and exclusive merch. And then that's after Friday, July 3rd. We will release about every 8 weeks a single from the record until we get to September, and then we start and play some shows with the complete release of the full record. And that's kind of the plan for the summer.
Cool. Have you guys played together yet in a full group ensemble or any gigs yet, or this will be the beginning?
Well, we played, we rehearsed together, prior to the videos and stuff like that. But this will be our first as a band playing as a gig, as a live gig. Yeah. Yeah,
So
we're
I have to ask you, because you mentioned some other acts here. Any interest from any of those acts out there to see what happens when you guys get this put together? Maybe do some shows with anybody. Any feedback or interest yet?
I mean, we would absolutely, be honored to tour with or play shows with any of those bands. We do actually have, I think we're talking with a bigger agency tomorrow that's very interested in us. And there was another person as well. So I think as kind of things progress, things will start building a little bit better. But yeah, we're as of come September, we'll be road ready and road tested and ready to play. As much as we can play.
Yeah, that sounds great. So hopefully Brice and Kay are getting ready to be road warriors and hit the road. As we know, is such the difficult part of any band nowadays, right? I mean, going on the road, the expenses, the travel, things you have to deal with, not so nice backstage areas, shall we say, not so nice, maybe accommodations. It's all that stuff rolled into one. It seems like it's such a big challenge, but it's the only way for artists to make money nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky because I have like a great bunch of people to travel with. They're like my family. So, we all get along really well. So
that's what everybody says. That's the most important part. Even maybe a little bit more important than how great the musicianship is. Right? It's better. It's better to hang. I ask so many musicians, I'm like, what's on your list to find someone? And always like in the top 3, the hang. If they're not a good hang and they're not cool to hang out with, I don't care if they're a great artist or not.
Exactly.
If they're a jerk.
How good you are.
Right. It always seemed to come down to that. So very, very cool. So next question I always like to ask folks here, obviously with the big rise of AI going on in music, in every facet of our lives really kind of seeping into that. But lately we're seeing it more and more in the music space, more and more in the creative arts space. So I wanted to get each of your thoughts on that. We'll start with Kay, maybe just go down the line. What you've seen about it and what your thoughts are on it, where it's going. Because I mean, we're seeing like fake artists like generated. They'll put music art, and it's not even a real artist, right? They'll do things like that. Or I've even seen real artists where they make fake music and they post it under a real profile on a streaming service. And I asked the artist, I'm like, oh, that was a great song. That's not a real song. We didn't do that. So much weird stuff. What's your feedback on that, Kay?
I personally cannot stand AI. I don't like it. I think it has no space in the creative industry too much. I think it has its functions and its uses, but things like that and people using it for, like there was the one where they made like all the fake songs and put them under a bunch of fake artists and then made bots listen to them, and the guy like profited a ridiculous amount of money.
Right. I had one artist on and he's like, oh, my friend came up to me and he showed me this new app and he wrote a sentence in it and he told me he wrote a song. I'm like, well, you really didn't write a song.
You wrote a prompt.
Yeah, you wrote a prompt and it kind of wrote a song, kind of, but but he was trying to explain that to his friend and they just didn't get it. But it really scares me how that's going with the younger audiences. Brice, something maybe you to speak to, with the younger people, being more accepting of technology, right? New technology that's coming up, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I have very mixed feelings about it. I think it can be a good tool, like if you're using it to create a rough draft of for example, if you're speaking, for example, when it comes to like album artwork, like if you want to get like a rough draft of your idea, I think it's a good way to kind of create a guideline off of what you're looking for. And even same with when you're with songwriting. However, my main criticism with it is if you're using it to if you're using it to, like, as like your main like a final product that you're gonna use to like market if you're gonna create a song entirely just off of AI alone and like no like real instrumentation, then that's where I'm not a fan of, because in the sense where AI taking over music, I guess bands or musicians, like that's the part I'm not a fan of. Like,
Yeah, and that's like what we're afraid of. I think when I speak to a lot of other artists, they're pretty much all in agreement. You know, if they're creating this artificial music, they're missing the boat, because the real thing about music is the emotional connection, right?
Yes.
That you bring
exactly.
to the audience, and the audience reflects that back to you when they like their song. You know, they're singing those lyrics. There's no other thing like that when they're singing your song back to you, right? That's just the great emotional connection that all bands want to see, right? And
Oh yeah.
you can't get that from AI. So CC, we'll bring this to you, and you're not only a musician, you're a producer and an actor. So maybe you could put on a couple hats here and kind of give us some feedback on that. I'm sure you see it in the other side of the industry as well. You know, obviously there was a lot that went into this, you know, a couple years back when there was a lot of strikes for the actors, and they want to make sure their digital rights were secured. You know what I mean? Do we maybe
Yeah.
need to do this for musicians too? That's another thing.
Yeah. So just to clarify, I'm not really a producer. I am an actor. That is true. I've done some producing, but I'm not like as good as like say Max, who produced our record. As an actor, yeah, actually, because I'm in the union, so I'm in the Screen Actors Guild, and we actually did have this big vote on it a couple years ago. It was like a whole thing. You know, I'm kind of like with Brice and Kay. You know, I think when it's used and applied in the correct, responsible way, I think it can be a useful tool. But I think for musicians or others to use it in the place of talent, and for it to simply just be used to make money, I think is horrid. And just, you know, like the guy who, made a fake song and had bots listen to it. It just ruins it for a lot of other people. And as he said, it's the real musicians and that real connection. That is what is so special. And that's why I play music.
It just seems like, I know at some point they're going to be cutting the artist out of it even more. I mean, they did that when they brought the songs to streaming. Right now, it's on a sliding scale. Now you guys are making like pennies on the dollar when you get streams, and it just seems to get tougher and tougher with that.
It has, and it's a different road. Definitely now a different business model, and I think fortunately we're in a decent spot as a band, business wise, moving forward, because we did decide to go out on our own independent label, and so I'm already finding a lot of great things about that.
Right.
You know, like wow. So.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need the big label like you used to need back in the day. You used to need them for distribution. You would need them for tour support, all the things that they don't do now, anyways. If you're on a
that's
label.
right.
Anyway,
and we were on a label, and I can and it was great at the time and all that. But I'm glad to be that we're on an independent label now.
Yeah, definitely seems to be the space to go. So I want to go on real quick. We'll get finished up here, but I wanted to get your take on what was your influential album growing up or band? Was there one that you kind of focused on to say, that was my first album. I really enjoyed that. That kind of really set the tone and style for music, that I liked. We'll start with you, Kay. Is there an album or a band that really, really spoke to you, was influential for you? Maybe you still listen to it today.
Actually, I do. I still do some of the songs when I do karaoke.
Right.
No, mine was No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom. She was the first female that I listened to that like pushed the limits, and it wasn't just the pretty singing. Like it was more gritty. It was more kind of like, and something about that album hit me like no other album had yet. I was obsessed. I still love it. I mean, I have the vinyl now, so it's like it was definitely my most probably influential album that I've listened to.
Yeah, definitely great performer. Definitely very, very cool. Brice, your take. What do you have an influential band or album or something that really spoke to you, or maybe you still listen to a lot?
I would say the band Avenged Sevenfold. So that one, I would say that was, I think, one of the main bands that got me into metal. So like when so I think around the age of 10 or 11, so like I was playing like when I was really into that one video game Rock Band.
Right, right.
Yeah, I think they had that one song Almost Easy off. It was off their like
Oh yeah.
record, and yeah, I was just hooked onto like that song and then that album, and then I would say it was like yeah, Avenged Sevenfold, Metallica, and Bullet for My Valentine were like
Yeah.
the main three that really I guess helped solidify my taste in heavy metal.
Yeah, that seems to be a very big thing with younger folks. They get exposure to all this music through video games, and some of the classic artists didn't realize that. I brought that up to a couple of them and said, if you get your songs in some of these games, they're playing those games. They're going to hear your stuff. Same way with my son. That's how he got exposure to a lot of stuff. So CC, let's go to you. Can you give us something that was influential for you, a band or an album or something that really kind of set the tone? Maybe you still listen to, or maybe you still look to for influence.
Yeah, I was just thinking, about like about that, and I was thinking, about my Ozzy Osbourne's "Diary of a Madman" album. I think that really Ozzy for me was, like I really loved Ozzy's voice, and I loved
unique
solo stuff, and I just I was a little kid when that record came out, and I just thought it was something else. And then I think Sepultura, Metallica is like Master of Puppets.
Yeah,
was huge.
Yeah,
and
great tour, great album. Yeah,
Sepultura's Beneath the Remains, and then I was just like, wow, man, that's like the speed metal that's the shit right there.
Right.
And then I don't know, and then but I was also listening to like Blue Oyster Cult and like whatever Heart was putting out at the time too, because I liked traditional melodic rock. Like I always thought like Pat Benatar was really good.
Yeah,
band,
she crushed it when she first came out with her stuff.
Oh my god! I mean, that's no auto. There's no auto tune there. That's
right.
That's all her pipes.
8-octave voice range. Pat Benatar, 8 octaves.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't know. I guess I was just kind of all over, but I think for metal, solidifying me was like Ozzy, and then Metallica's Master of Puppets, Sepultura's Beneath the Remains. Yeah, I think there was like a whole. Yeah, I'd have to say, and those are the three that come to mind for me. There's probably other ones.
Yeah, definitely some great stuff. I definitely agree with you.
New metal too was really like, I really liked A7X too. The Rev was the drummer that was just, I was like blown away by that guy.
Excellent. All right, well, very cool. So we'll wrap things up here. So obviously the new track Square Hammer is streaming now from Death Dealer Union. CC, where should they go and check you guys out? Social media, website, what you got?
Yeah, so www.deathdealerunion.com, and we're at Death Dealer Union on all the socials. And stay tuned tomorrow because Call to the Moonlight, the first original off the new Dark Sister record drops. The video drops tomorrow, and everything will be on sale and available at the store tomorrow. And then stay tuned throughout the summer. We'll have more dropping from Dark Sister.
Definitely. Well, we look for those dates coming up when you guys get together. And you folks out there can check out the link to the video for Square Hammer in our Hall of Video at talkingboutrock.com. All right. So this wraps up this episode. Thank you to my guests today from Death Dealer Union and to our audience. We hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Folks, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you
Yeah, thanks for
later.
having us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.